Hi everyone, welcome to Micro Mahasutra, where we are discussing central nervous system, and this is the 6th class of our discussion. So, today's topic of major concern is Toxoplasma. Although Neurocysticercosis and Free-Living Amoeba are both important topics, Neurocysticercosis and Free-Living Amoeba are both important topics. But since we have already discussed them before, I will give you the link in the description of those videos. So you have to go them, visit them again and learn them. My prime focus is going to be Toxoplasma. First of all, understanding about Toxoplasma gondii. So Toxoplasma gondii is going to infect all the nucleated cells and of course RBCs, because RBCs are not nucleated, so RBCs are not affected by Toxoplasma. So Toxoplasma is going to affect what? All the nucleated cell. Toxoplasma has got different forms like oocyst, like bradycyst, like tachyzoid, like pseudocyst. Alright. So remember all these things. Okay. So oocyst. Now oocyst means what? Oocyst means that it is going to infect it is coming from the cats. So it is coming from the cats. So if I make O, a bigger O, doing like this, alright, and just add on some features, I can easily make the O. And what is this O? O is about the oocyst. Alright. Coming on to the next one, which is called as bradycyst. Bradycyst is going to come from muscles. Okay, bradycyst is going to come from muscles. Tachyzoid is going to come from the blood or going to come from the circulation. Alright, so for example, if I talk about maternal transfer, okay, so mother can transfer. So maternal transfer occurs by the blood only. So very simple, you have to understand. Okay, do you know what is the meaning of brady? Brady means slow. Tachy means fast. Okay, so how does a child meets the mother? Very fast. Okay, so very fast. That's why tachyzoid is, you can remember, from the mother, that's in the circulation and the blood. And how does your muscle gets built up in the gym? Very slow. So bradycyst is the muscle. And one more obviously is the pseudocyst, which you have to learn. Coming on to the host. So the definitive host is going to be cat in case of Toxoplasma. Okay. The intermediate host is going to be rat or the cattle, but the accidental host is going to be, or the dead end host is going to be human. Very simple thing I am going to teach you. Remember Toxoplasma gondii. Okay. So D for definitive host. Okay. D for definitive host is going to be there. And if I just join these two H, it becomes H, so H means humans. So the dead end, D for dead end. D for what? D for dead end. So the dead end host is going to be human. And coming to the cat, who is the definitive host. So you know that C and D comes very close. So C and D coming very close. Coming to intermediate host. So please remember that intermediate host of the Toxoplasma, obviously the one the cat is going to feed upon, that's the rat. Okay, so the rat going to cat, so intermediate host is going to be rat. Alright, so what happens? The life cycle is important. The cat is going to shed the oocyst on the stool. Oocyst is going to infect the rat or the cattle, which develops bradycyst. So I've told you now the bradycyst is going to be in the muzzle. So muzzle of what? Muzzle of rat and the cattle. Then the cat is going to eat the rat and the cattle, and the cycle is going to continue. But for example, if the cat is going to contaminate the food by the stools, so oocyst is coming in the food or the water, right? And that is going to do what? That is going to infect the humans. Humans becomes the accidental host, right? Or it might come with the cattle beef or the rat meat in the non-vegetarian people. Okay. In humans, the oocyst is going to go to the circulation, becomes the tachyzoid, comes the bradycyst, becomes the pseudocyst. Pseudocyst is going to go into the muscle cyst, right? But please remember, they can even go to where? They can even go to the brain as well. That's why we are discussing this Toxoplasma gondii. I am repeating the cycle for you. So this is the cat. Cat is having the stool. Okay, cat is having the oocyst in the stool, and this oocyst in the stool is going to get taken by the rat or the kettle, where this oocyst is going to get converted into bradycyst. Okay, and the rat is going to get ingested by whom? By the cat. Okay, and the cycle is going to continue like this. But for example, if this stool is contaminating the food, okay, or the rat is being taken or eaten, or the beef is being taken or eaten by the humans, it can go to humans. By the food also it can go to humans, right? But humans are the dead end host. That means the cycle is not going to continue any further. Okay, now what is going to happen in humans? You can see that the oocyst has gone into the circulation, and the humans, I have told you now, if you remember, like mother, right? Like mother to fetus. So oocyst is going to develop into what? 𝗲𝗍𝗃zoid, and from the 𝗲𝗍𝗃zoid it is going to get converted into actually it is going to get converted into cyst. What two cyst? Either the bradycyst is going to be there or the pseudocyst is going to be there, right? That is called as muzzle cyst, right? So this you have to remember. Okay, now if you are a techno person, you must know what is 𝗲𝗃 means. So OTC is the mnemonic, oocyst, then 𝗲𝗃zoid, and then the cyst, the bradycyst and the pseudocyst. It's actually OTG cable, not the OTC, but you can remember. Mode of transmission is going to be ingestion, just like the oocyst and the tissue cyst can be ingested. 𝗲𝗃zoid is in the circulation, I told you, by the blood transfusion and mother to child placental transfer, that is responsible for causing the congenital toxoplasma. And if you remember, I have given you a specs like this, right? A specs like this, a specs like this of toxoplasma, telling you in the fetal infection that first of all it is going to infect your eyes. So eyes have chorioretinitis, and then it is responsible for causing this H1. What is this H1? H is the hydrocephalus which is going to be there. And yes, of course, why hydrocephalus? Because there are intracranial calcifications. So intracranial calcification is going to happen. So the brain is going to get rigid. So the ventricles can't expand properly. So there will be increased accumulation of CSF that leads to hydrocephalus anyways. But this is about the congenital toxoplasmosis. What about the other features? So there is a cerebral toxoplasmosis which has encephalitis, that is the inflammation of the brain parenchyma, which has got focal neurological deficits. That means the nerves can be involved, and it can have the space occupying lesions also. That can space occupying lesions means some amount of space is getting occupied by the toxoplasma, hence the structures there are getting compressed and different features can come there. So you have to remember just like this. Okay, so encephalitis is going to be there, focal neurological deficits, and definitely the space occupying lesions. Similarly, as you have seen in the eyes of neonates, in adults it can cause ocular toxoplasmosis and chorioretinitis. In congenital toxoplasma, yes, I have told you, my dear friends, there is chorioretinitis. And please remember two more things. One is the mental retardation and other is going to be the microcephaly, which is going to be there. Microcephaly and mental retardation. Okay. So what is the gold standard for toxoplasma? Remember P, Q, R, S and T coming together. T for toxoplasma, S for 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗺 dye. So S for 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗿 dye test. Alright. Serology, definitely IgM ELISA, IgA ELISA, IgG ELISA. These IgA and IgG are important. Okay, and IgM is also important. Now, if they ask you which is the gold standard one, so you should know that IgM is the gold standard one. Okay, to check the congenital toxoplasmosis. Why is it that so? See here, this is mother, this is fetus, Mother and fetus are connected with each other. Mother and fetus are connected with each other via placenta. Now, if the fetus is having congenital toxoplasmosis, it will develop IgA, it will develop IgM, it will develop IgG. So, all three must be the gold standard ones. But my dear friends, IgA and IgG can even come from the mother because they can cross the placenta. Whereas IgM is something that is only and only created by fetus. That's why to get a pure diagnosis that it is the congenital toxoplasmosis, that's why the fetus has created IgM. IgM ELISA is the gold standard one because IgA and IgG might be coming from the mother, they are not created by the fetus. So, this is not the indication of congenital toxoplasmosis. Yes, you can do RT-PCR, and of course, there is something called as IgG avidity test. Just to remember, nothing to be worried about. Remember, again I tell you P, Q, R, S and T. That means for Toxoplasma, 𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗴𝗻 is the drug of choice, and in pregnancy you have to give what? You have to give spiramycin. I have talked this multiple times that oocyst from the cat is going to go to other organisms and the cycle is going to continue. But yes, if you are ingesting pork or undercooked stuff, undercooked meat or something, so it can even go to the humans, right? Yeah, like that. And this is the congenital toxoplasma, right? This is in the muscles you have. What do you have in muscles? The Brady cyst. Okay, that is there in the muscles for that matter. Just remember. All right, so this was it for this lecture. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you in the next class. God bless you.